And this is... Oh, I'm very, very loud. Whoa.
Me too.
I hope nobody was blacked out by that.
Are we good?
I think so.
Gabe can always work a little magic
Yeah,
too.
that's fine.
Florida man.
Yeah, Florida man. Shout out to Florida man. Okay, we are... What
This
number? I forgot.
8, 7?
Something like that. I don't remember.
And look at this face.
Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Look at this face.
Shaved.
For those of you who are watching on video.
I call this the Corona shave, so that my mask can sit better on my face. Not because I believe that masks will keep you from getting sick. They keep you from getting other people sick, which is not something I want to do. So, I shaved off my beard, which is something I hadn't done since I was...
Since we were dating. Like 13 years ago.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Long time
So
ago.
this, I told you it feels like I'm cheating on you with you from the past because this is the dating phase.
That's exciting for you, though.
No, that's
Why not?
I don't want to. That's a weird no.
It's all the excitement of having an affair without actually having an
horrible.
affair. Oh, it's terrible. Having an affair is a horrible thing.
That's not exciting.
Well, no, not for the person. Never mind.
No,
We're off topic.
you want to dig a hole with that?
Aloha. It's like I'm sponsoring Hawaii or something like that. I don't mean to. It's just the way that the coffee, the
I
tea
think
cup is.
we've been in quarantine too long.
It's only been like, what, 6 days?
No, 2 months.
You have been in quarantine for 2 months. Yeah.
Anywho, before we launch into our topic today, just I guess the usual summary and update. We are in month 2 of staying home, and so far that's going fine. A little stir crazy, but fine, and we're healthy, and we're grateful for that, and we're grateful for our friends and community around us that we are not totally cut off from. So we haven't been to church since then end of February, so that's been a hard missing church, but our church is live streaming, and so we do get to have church in the living room together, so that's really
Both services, both the Japanese and the English service.
yes.
If you're interested, follow Hope English Chapel. Hope English.
We can also put links on
We'll put links on places for things.
Yeah.
And you can check out it. They have an English service, hosted or done by, preached, led by my college roommate. Is it my ex-college roommate? Maybe ex-college roommate.
He was your college roommate.
He was my college roommate.
Former college roommate.
My former college roommate. And worship done by his brother-in-law. They're both great guys. His brother-in-law's wife plays the piano, and she's a really great pianist. So shout out to Hope English Chapel. If you get a chance to, check it out. It would be Saturday morning in America.
Yes, because it's
For some of
Saturday
you, it would be-
evening. It's Saturday evening here, so Saturday morning in the States.
For some of you, it would be like, what, 4 a.m.?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
But we always put the links up when we can.
Yeah.
And then our Sunday morning services have been streamed. Our church is doing okay. I think all members have been healthy.
Yep.
And we've had a baptism. Easter Sunday there was a baptism. There's another one coming up soon. So God is doing good things at Hope Chapel. Our pastors are really working very hard to be positive in this crazy time by continuingly to point us to Scripture about God being in charge and God being present in suffering. And last week's sermon was about stop complaining and instead bring your prayers to the Lord. And so that was a really good message for us. And I think that's...
I'm kind of out of a job right now.
Well, no, you're just on leave of absence.
I'm on leave of absence for the next 3
so
weeks.
we'd be grateful for prayers for...
Yeah, the next step.
Yep, and finances as it's an unpaid leave. But God's been faithful.
Yeah.
And for those of you who have been following our adoption story, that's also on hold currently, just because the whole country of Japan is in state of emergency, and so nothing's getting done right now, and nothing can move forward, and so we're waiting on that as well. So who knows what the next few months will look like. I mean, our tentative plan is to resume where we left off in August, but we don't know if that's... We don't know.
Yeah.
So, but other than that,
Yeah,
we're
I think
doing
that's it, yeah.
we're doing well. And so tonight's topic is not one that we have studied academically necessarily.
And yet we have a lot of experience in.
Well, we've talked a lot about it. I've talked with Natasha, my best friend, about it, and you and I have talked a lot about it. You look so confused.
I'm just making sure that I just...
Oh yeah, same topic.
This is
yeah,
okay.
Yeah. But tonight's topic is... Do you want...
No, because I'm still a little bit worried that I don't know what we're talking about.
Creating and hobbies. Okay. And the fun part of having our hobbies, but then also the connection to theology, because that's always something that we love as well.
Yeah.
So, you are a man of many hobbies and interests,
Yes.
and a wildly creative brain. I mean, I've seen your sketchbooks and all kinds of things dating back to when you were really young. So you've always wanted to create. Do you want to start and tell about your creative hobbies and interests?
To start the list.
Well, just keep it short if you can.
I'll do
Summarize.
my top three.
Don't
my top
do
three
the
hobbies.
yes,
Yeah.
but don't do the O'Brien versions, like O'Brien's long Irish storytelling versions. Keep it more.
You want me just to itemize it, right?
And just share a little bit about them.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay. I guess the easiest one to talk about would be drawing.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since I was a kid, I've been drawing. Off and on. I think I had like 1 or 2 drawing lessons when I was a teenager. I bought 1 comic book, drawing book to teach you how to draw in a comic book style. Lots of online tutorials about drawing in a more manga Japanese style. And then I went to, when I was at university, or when I was at college, college and university here are different
Yes.
than they are in the States, and so I am used to saying university instead of college. When I went to college, I spent half a semester in the art program and dropped out, and then took up philosophy. Wanted to major in philosophy, but they didn't have a philosophy major, so I minored in philosophy, majored in theology. And then for about 10 years I didn't draw.
I know you didn't
Yeah.
even enjoy it.
I didn't even enjoy it. And then 2.5 years ago, I think, I picked it back up and started drawing again and got a couple courses, and my interest in it hasn't waned since. Which is a different thing for me because usually I pick up a hobby and after a couple weeks I drop it again.
That's the ADD.
That's the ADD. Which is why I've picked up Swahili and Kosa and French and German and Chinese and Afrikaans.
And then drop them just
And
as
I dropped
quickly.
them. Yeah, I dropped them pretty quickly afterwards. Afrikaans I went pretty far, but all the other ones I didn't really tackle very long. But art was definitely one that I kept going with. Yeah, and something I want to try to make a career out of. I want to try to be a professional artist, doing illustrations and stuff like that. The second one I think would be writing, which I unfortunately don't do barely any of it.
You're on pause right now.
I'm on pause because I'm kind of concentrating. I'm prioritizing drawing over writing.
But your writing is what I fell in love with you over.
And I haven't dropped it completely. I still think about it. I just haven't written anything in a couple months, several months. And then number 3, I'm lumping 2 games together because they're nerd games. Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons. And if you're a conservative Southerner, you've already turned off the video. But those are two games that, again, I picked up and have not dropped. I've been playing Magic for 8 years.
No longer.
9,
10.
10, about 10 years. My roommate Michael Dugan taught me it many years ago, and I've gone to a couple dozen tournaments, and I've lost hundreds of times, and it's a great game to play. Either one-on-one, you grab up a friend and play some Magic, and it's fun to just sit and, there's skill involved with building your deck and knowing when to play your cards, and there's a luck factor, so games play out very, very differently every time that you play, and there's lots of different what's called formats, which have different sets of rules, different cards that are allowed, so that you have you can make a lot of different decks out of a collection of cards, and each one plays differently. Each game goes differently. There's single player, or there's 2-player, there's multiplayer, so it's really a great game to be able to socialize with. But the best game, I think, to socialize with is Dungeons and Dragons, which I picked up. I started playing a tabletop role-playing game like 3 years ago. We're doing
consistently. This isn't new to you. This is not new.
Yeah, I had a friend when we first got here in Hobbies who wanted to play, and so he showed me a bunch of different tabletop games, and then
he ran some campaigns.
And he ran one shots with Savage Worlds, which is a different rule set, and then last year when we were in America, last August when we were in America, I picked up the Dragon of Icespire Peak starter kit for Dungeons and Dragons, which is a fantastic adventure. If you're ever interested, that's the thing that you can message me about. Message me about Dungeons and Dragons. So
not
pick
theology,
that up. Not theology.
Not missionary life or adoption. No.
Dungeons and D&D. Yeah. And I grabbed up 4 of my friends that are here, and that were here in Japan. One of them moved back to America, but we play online now, and we've been playing that at first every month, about every month. Usually it was like once every 2 months, but now that we're playing online, we're doing it every week. And then I had another group from America that I played online with, and we ran a one shot over 2 nights, which ran, I think, about 7 hours.
8
hours, 8 hours. And that was a blast. That was really fun. I really dig D&D. It's super. You're constantly using your imagination. There's storytelling elements. Of course, there's combat. There's that amount of luck where you can try something and it might fail, it might not fail, and what do you do if it fails? There's no right or wrong answers to problems that you might be facing. There's all sorts of social aspects to it, getting together and basically problem solving things. So I'm really digging D&D right now. It's on all the hobbies that I have right now. It goes drawing and then D&D, and they're very, very close together. So everything else is, I have little inklings of curiosity. I got a guitar. I used to play fairly regularly. I don't anymore.
You've been interested in things like
coding. I've been doing video game coding. 3D modeling. I've been doing 3D modeling,
which is not like you modeling your body. It's like you creating.
I'm not sure anyone would make that mistake.
Yes, I
don't
would.
Think, really?
Yeah.
You think that if me being a total stranger, I'd come up to you and say, "Hi, I'm a 3D modeler," you would instantly go, "Oh, you model your body?"
Yes, I would.
Where do you think the 3D comes from?
Oh, I don't know. Like in person, like people walk around. This is yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm not techie like you.
Aloha.
So you've dabbled in things like jewelry making and woodworking.
Yep.
And
magic tricks.
Yeah. So I think you are very creative.
That's my ADD.
I don't always understand your hobbies,
Yeah,
or
you do not understand D&D whatsoever.
I do not understand the attraction.
Yeah.
And art, I don't understand because I'm not visual. I mean, I love that you do it,
Right.
but like it doesn't do for me what it does
Right.
for you.
Right.
And so, but I love the fact that you are creative. I love the fact that you're so intensely interested in your hobbies. I really do like that
I like
about you.
Sam.
Like Sam.
It's just like Sam.
He has his projects and you have your projects.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we just want to do our projects.
You and Sam.
We just want people to leave us alone.
Just don't bother me,
Just
Mom.
please, just leave us alone. Let us do our projects. Yeah, okay. All right. So those are mine.
I'm really curious, though. I want to ask one question. You kept bringing up the socializing in Magic and D&D, but as an introvert, you don't like socializing as a rule.
So
tell me about that.
It's less socializing and more typical socializing. Because when I'm with somebody, when I'm one-on-one, I'm fine. It's a little bit draining because I feel like I have to come up with topics, I have to react, I have to read the other person, see how they're feeling. Are they interested in what I'm saying? Do they agree with what I'm saying? Did I say something wrong? What did they mean by that sentence? And then I hate small talk. I hate when it's just these little tiny conversations. I want to talk about something interesting. I don't want to talk about boring things. But when I'm playing Magic or D&D, the socializing is narrowed down into that, is dominated by that topic. So when I'm playing Magic, oh yeah, sure, I'll talk. I'll ask the other person, how's things going? I heard about this. How's this doing? Things like that. But mainly, I know that there is a point of contact that we have now, an established point of contact, the game that we're playing. And so it's very easy to come up with topics. It's very easy to, not feel like you have to be aware of the other person's interest in what you're saying. Like if I go to someone else and start talking about Magic the Gathering, they don't care. They don't care. And so that is not a topic that they want to talk about. But when you're playing Magic with somebody, they want to talk about Magic. And when you're playing D&D, they want to talk about D&D. And I bond a lot over shared experiences. All of my roommates from college, the ones that I'm closest with, I gamed a lot with. And so I do a lot of bonding through games, through imagination, and those kinds of shared experiences. So,
that makes sense.
Because we are social creatures.
Yes.
It's just that some of us, it's more difficult to socialize than others.
And some of us are shriveling, being kept away from all of our friends.
She cried when she got out of the store and was telling me that there are plastic sheets now separating the customers from the cashiers. She cried. She actually cried. She's sitting in the car going, "This is not the way that we're supposed to be. This isn't the way that we're supposed to be." That is how I really, really do want to make a graphic listing out the ways that introverts can help extroverts through this. No, I do. I'm serious about this because like last year or up until recently, we've had just a slew of these memes about how to take care of the introvert in your life. You gotta do this and you gotta do that. Remember this, remember that. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, okay, yeah, I get that. But what about the extroverts? The extroverts are just as needy is not the right word. What's the word?
Important.
No.
We're just as important.
No.
We have needs too.
Yeah. You have needs too. Extroverts have needs too.
We need to be with people.
Yeah. And so if everybody's kind of coddling the introverts, and I'm an introvert, but if everyone's coddling us, then who's hanging out with extroverts? Other extroverts? Yeah, but what if you're friends with an extrovert and you're an introvert? You're just not going to hang out with that extrovert? Of course not. So, if it's a family member or a spouse, learning how to talk each other's languages, especially in marriage, is not just important, it's essential.
Yes.
So knowing you and knowing that you're not getting people time, like you want, like you need emotionally, you need to have people time. That means that I have to, you know, adjust things and be more willing to spend time that I could be spending by myself with you.
But you're wonderful about it. And knowing that this is not going to last. I mean, it's hard not knowing when, but knowing that this is not the new way of life.
Yeah.
We're made for community and relationships and connection. That helps me. But yeah.
If the world bounced back after the bubonic plague, they can bounce back after Corona.
Yikes. I don't want to start a debate on things like that. But in any case, how did we get here? Because we were talking about
Because
hobbies.
you asked me a question.
Oh, socializing. That's what happens when I think about things. The topic sort of morphs into another topic.
It's fine. We're having a conversation. That's fine.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can I talk about my hobbies?
Sure. Your boring hobbies.
Oh, it's so smooth now.
Yeah, I shaved it.
Yes, you did.
Isn't
There's
that
no
crazy?
prickles. It's
Isn't that
weird.
crazy?
I, growing up, never ever considered myself a creative person or an artistic person. I didn't understand visual art, and I remember going to the Chicago Museum of Art when I was junior in high school, and I had such a bad attitude walking through it. I was so grumpy because I didn't enjoy it and I didn't get it, and I was like, why is my mother and my grandmother dragging me through this? And so I never considered myself creative. I didn't have productive hobbies like my friends did. You know, I couldn't do something amazing that was
And by
visual.
productive, you mean
I didn't
hobbies
produce.
that didn't produce anything.
Yes. My hobbies when I was growing up were reading and reading and reading. Those were, yeah. And then I discovered cooking, which started as a way to help my mom, morphed into a hobby, and then now it's what I do as wife and mom. So I wouldn't call it a hobby anymore, but
Yeah.
I do love it, and I do see myself as having that as a creative outlet.
It's probably the most important hobby.
But it's not a hobby to me anymore.
Sure. But I mean, in a hobby in the sense that you don't do it professionally.
No, I don't.
You take it seriously, but
Yeah.
you don't do it professionally. And I think it's the one hobby that I think is the most important hobby of all, because of how many different places it touch. But we can talk about that
We could do that later.
later.
But so I definitely see that as a creative outlet, and I have fun with it. But recently I've discovered I apparently have not discovered how to articulate and enunciate. I've discovered fiber art, and let me tell you about fiber art. 3 of the
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I'm just gonna take a rest.
did I check out?
No, I'm not checking out. I know that because I know all this stuff already because I've talked to you about it.
So stay here and listen. I did you the same
All right,
service.
All right.
Can you believe him?
The 2 people that watch our podcast know me, so they completely believe that.
The 3 components of fiber art that I'm really interested in are rag rug weaving, which is a traditional Americana folk craft, I guess, folk art. Some people do it and it becomes an art form, but it's more of a craft, I guess. But it's using rags and strips of cloth to make rugs and other things on a loom, on a frame, and I love doing that, though it's a lot more work, and so I don't take it out as often if I don't have a huge chunk of time to work on it. But then here it is. If you're watching the video, loom knitting is a new thing for me. It's using these plastic looms. This one's collapsible, but they come in all shapes. No, they come in all sizes. They're all circular. Most of them are. And using yarn and these frames, then I can do a form of knitting. And that's been really fun to make hats and scarves and socks. And I want to tackle blankets and other things like that.
You've made me a scarf and a hat.
And socks.
And socks. Yeah, and socks too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I've made the kids hats and scarves.
Mm-hmm.
No, not hats. Scarves. Made, yeah.
You made me a dice bag.
Yeah, but that's a bad one. I'm going to make you another one.
Okay. It's all online now, so I don't really need it.
And then also discovered a Japanese style of weaving called Saudi ori, or Saudi weaving.
That's really pretty. That's really pretty.
This is just the first thing that I ever made. I don't know how to center this in the camera. There it is. It's a form of weaving that was invented by a lady who was taking a class, a Japanese lady who was taking a class, and she made a mistake in her weaving, and the instructor called her out for not being perfect. But she really liked the way that it looked not being perfect, and so she developed this whole philosophy of this kind of weaving, in that every single piece is unique, individual, and it's supposed to be not perfect. There's no wrong way to do it necessarily. And it's supposed to capture what the weaver is feeling and thinking, and be very expressive in using a lot of different textures and colors. And then she and her son designed the looms so that anybody of any physical ability can use them. So that's very popular weaving style with people with disabilities, because it's accessible, it's fully accessible, and they can be modified so that they're totally accessible. But cool. The reason that I love these fiber arts is that it's more than just a visual art. I can touch them, I can feel them, and I've always loved being more tactile. I go through fabric stores and I would just like touch all of the bolts of fabric. And so I've always loved being able to touch and hold things. So having my hands on different textures has been really special. Playing with color, knowing that it's, if I mess up, I can just unravel or untwist or pull it up. I can frog it. And it's not irreparable. So it's a very forgiving way of doing arts and crafts. It's pretty when it's done. It makes something visually pleasing. But then also I'm producing things that can be used by others. Not just a picture, this is what I drew, and only a few people are going to go, oh wow, that's really amazing. But no, this is not a criticism. I'm saying people like me don't know what to do with art. I can make something that's functional and useful, and that feels really satisfying to me. And I've talked about this with my friend Natasha, and you and I have talked about the theology of creating and how that we enjoy it because we were made in the image of our Creator. And so when we create and design and make and produce, we're imaging, to use a popular theological word, we're imaging the Creator. Do you want to unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, it's one of the, I think it's tied directly into what's called the cultural mandate.
Yes, talk about that.
The cultural mandate in Genesis 1 or 2, I can't remember which one.
What happened to your voice?
That's why I stepped outside of my realm of knowledge, even though I should know this.
It's okay, the details.
This is the details. I'm not
you
a
don't
detail
do
person.
No.
Somewhere in Genesis, the beginning of the book, when God says, "Go forth and multiply, and subdue the earth," a lot of people call that the cultural mandate, which is to go out and subdue the earth, meaning to bring the earth under our control and use it usefully.
To create culture.
To create culture, basically to create culture.
Not just to be passive.
And to, yeah. So when it comes to things like hobbies and stuff, we all are drawn to being creative. We are all drawn to it. And for most of Earth's history, humanity's history, we have been creators. That's mainly how you got by, was by creating. You
Oh,
know,
that's how new
you
things
wove,
get developed.
yeah, you wove baskets, or you made pots,
Mm-hmm.
you cooked, breads.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you plowed fields. You created stuff. You subdued the earth, basically taking the raw elements found in the earth, and reassembling them, processing them in such a way as to be useful. But then it's not, for humans, it's not just enough for it to be useful.
No, it needs to be beautiful.
It needs to be pretty.
It needs to be visually pleasing.
And there's
And
no
emotive too.
and there's no reason for it. It doesn't bring it a higher quality. It doesn't make it a higher quality. And yet we are driven to that, to create pretty things. And I think that is probably tied to the fact that when God creates, he creates perfectly.
And he's pleased with what he makes.
And he's pleased with what he makes. And so we look to be aesthetically pleasing. We look to be, if you're making music, then it has to be a pleasing sound. And so we're constantly motivated to do that. And that doesn't just go for the arts. That's also cooking. And cooking is a big one, because not only are you making something, not only are you making something useful, not only are you making something tasty, but you're making something healthy and aesthetically pleasing.
That's true.
There are so many things that go into it, and when cooking for a family, you're bringing the whole family together,
I love that
strengthening and bonding the family ties together.
part. I love that part.
And so there's a lot of, and so cooking, cleaning a house, again, subduing the earth, kind of fighting against the
curse.
the chaos that entropy causes. Gardening, same thing. Weeding stuff out and then planting something in. You can't just use up the soil. You have to be careful with it and use it correctly. Even all the way down to, I would say, making a spreadsheet. Making a spreadsheet that looks good, that is readable, that is anything that takes time and effort and thought and any amount of art to make it look better is fulfilling that cultural mandate.
I think so.
There isn't, and it's very difficult, I think, to find a human activity that is not part of that cultural mandate.
I would agree, because culture is made up of so many elements.
Now, of course, there's bad ways that can work out. For example, building houses. If you're building houses by using all of the resources, the natural resources.
Oh, not being a good steward.
Yeah, not being a good steward.
That's
being
different.
wasteful.
Yeah.
Or using, pesticides in order to kill, or herbicides in order to kill weeds. Probably not the best thing for the environment. So there's on the one hand, subduing the earth sounds as if we're making it subject to us, that we're dominating the earth.
Doing whatever we want.
Yeah, doing whatever we want, but that's not what it is, because the earth's not ours. It was given to us. Therefore, being a gift, we need to be good stewards of it.
Yes.
Same thing with our bodies, which is something I think we talked about with our health
Couple
a
episodes
couple episodes ago, is that our bodies were given to us, which is why we take care of them, which is why we don't overeat, why we don't undereat, why we don't just eat junk food, and why we don't just eat, healthy cardboard. We eat good, healthy foods that taste good because our bodies are made for that.
And I think going back to the importance of creating in art and things, when you look at difficult times like now, what are the things that people turn to? Music,
all creativity, yeah.
art, books,
TikTok.
No,
absolutely.
Yes,
TikTok, yeah.
yes,
Making
yes,
videos.
yes.
Making videos that are funny, making videos that are informative.
But also the things that we hold on to, like when museums are giving these free digital tours of all of their galleries, or Yo-Yo Ma gives a free mini concert on Facebook Live, or
Patrick Stewart reading Shakespearean sonnets.
Oh yes. Or people picking books up and hobbies up that they haven't for a while. We see these things as valuable intrinsically, and so I think as humans we know that these things are important, but when we bring it in through a Christian lens, we understand why. Because our Father is creator, and we are just doing what our dad does.
Yep.
And what we were made to do.
Yeah.
And I love that. Another, sorry, you looked a little bit startled. Another little element of the reason why I love what I do in my hobbies is the history and the connection to people in the past. Knowing that, like, rag rug weaving, it's really hard to say, by the way, is connected to Americana, you know, folk America. That's really cool. And knowing that the loom knitting group that I'm in, there's members from all over the world. And when I've talked to my friend Natasha about her knitting and tatting, and knowing that these are arts that are from way, way in the past, weaving's been around for centuries. I mean, that's how you get cloth. And so knowing that we're connected to history that way too is really, really special.
Same thing with art. Same thing with drawing. You know, in order to be a good drawer, I've had to go back into the past and look at artists that have come before me. And I think the same thing is true with everything. Like, all of our accumulated knowledge was not just accumulated since we've been alive. It has history. Everything that we have, everything that we depend on now, has a basis in the past. And I think that connection to the past, remembering what came before, is a very important aspect of humanity.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
This is fun. I like this one. Well, I mean, I like all of our topics, but I like this one because there's so many things in it
There are a lot
that just
of things.
make us happy.
Yeah.
So anyway, wrapping up.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening and watching and sharing. And we'd love to hear from you what your creative hobbies are. Let us know and just have conversation.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Yeah. Thanks for your continued prayers for us. We'd continually be grateful for prayers for protection and health, especially for the kids. Prayers for wisdom as we move forward with finances and job stuff, but then also wisdom to know how best to do ministry right now in this time of not being able to be with people. Prayer for us to know how best to serve and minister, because we can't even go to church right now. We can't even teach Sunday school. So, and let us know how we can pray for you.
Stay safe. Wash your hands.
Don't pick your nose.
I mean, that's a good rule, but that doesn't have anything to do with the virus.
Yeah, don't put the virus up your nose. Or take it out and spread it. It's good